Morning. It is Tuesday, December 1st. We are so close to 2020 being over. Yay! So anyway, if you're watching this, that means you missed class today. And in that case, I hope that you are well, and I hope that those around you are doing well too. Going to basically run you through everything we talked about today. Nothing real long today. We kind of just covered one slide. We've got a new assignment going today, so I wanted to make sure that you guys had time to work on that. So let's get rolling right into it. Some reminders. We're going to finish up this unit on Thursday, and we're going to take kind of the chapter test on Friday. What I'm going to do is I will, at the beginning of the class on Friday, I'll share the link with you guys, and that'll be due by Friday at midnight, okay? Second reminder, I sent out emails yesterday to parents. Basically, they came in two varieties. You're making progress, and you're adequately doing just fine, and then there were the ones that weren't doing fine and had the list of missing work that was owed. Unfortunately, some of you guys have made that worse by not handing in the assignment that was due last night. Guys, gals, I hate to tell you this, you're going to have to work in life. Better get it going. You're waiting way too long to start doing some work in here, some of you guys. All right, so make sure you check your grades. Everything's an Infinite Campus. I'm going to grade Closing the Frontier probably this afternoon. So make sure you get that in as soon as possible if you haven't, okay? Apparently I got a little, I typed this in the wrong spot. All right, you don't have an assignment due today. All right, so we're gonna today we're gonna talk about the Cheyenne Tribe. We're gonna talk about the tribe that tried to give up, and talk a little bit about what happened to them and how that was an experience of some other tribes too. I'm gonna give you some work time on the new assignment, which I will show you guys toward the end. And please, if you guys have got any questions, just ask. Guys, I can only answer what I'm asked. I only know what, you guys tell me. So if you're stuck, if you're struggling, if you're having a hard time, you got to say something. Please, 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 please. Okay. All right. So let's get rolling into our info for today. Like I said, it's only one slide today. So if you're a screenshot person, I guess now's the time. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at the Cheyenne and the Shivington Massacre, and we're going to talk a little bit about that tribe themselves. All right. So the Cheyenne kind of lived in a common area with another tribe called the Arapaho Indians. But the Cheyenne lived around Pikes Peak. Now, if you've never been out to Pikes Peak is in Colorado, and it's a beautiful area. If you ever get a chance, please go out there. They have a really cool, I don't even know what kind of railroad it is, but this thing that goes to the top of the mountain. There's also these stairs where you can walk to the top of it. It's kind of cool. All right, but they had been living around the Pikes Peak area for a really long time, and living in peace. Hunters, did some farming. I guess you would say typical of Western Plains Indians. Gold was discovered around the Pikes Peak area in 1859, and because we're so creative, we called the people that went out there looking for it 59ers. But as soon as gold was discovered in that area, a large number of white settlers who not only were looking for new land, but were also looking for an opportunity to get rich, flocked to the area. I think I read someplace that there was an estimate of about 100,000 people moved into the area. The Cheyenne obviously were not super happy about that, but they were more concerned for their own safety. And so the Cheyenne, led by their chief, who his name roughly translates to Black Kettle, went to the U.S. Army in the area and asked for protection from the settlers. They didn't want any conflict. They wanted to be able to be left alone in their area. The Army agreed as part of the Fort Laramie Treaty that they would protect the Cheyenne from any white settlers as long as there was no conflict caused by the Cheyenne. There were obviously still occasionally problems. Hunting grounds were encroached on. Tribal lands were being dug up. People were starting to come in higher and higher numbers. Unfortunately, rather than the Army living up to their part of the deal and protecting the Cheyenne, the Army started to obviously side with the settlers. And in November of 1864, a colonel named John Shivington, who was the leader of the Colorado Volunteers, wrote in a diary that he was going to put an end to the Indian menace forever. And so John Shivington took it as his one-man battle to basically wipe out the Cheyenne Indians, or at least get them out of the area. And in November that month, he and his men were out on a patrol, and they found a peaceful Cheyenne village, which they decided to attack. Now, obviously, there's a couple of words in what I just said that don't generally go together: peaceful and attack. You don't go down to a peaceful elementary school recess and start beating little kids up. You don't walk into a peaceful senior citizen center and start whooping some butt. That's generally not the way that it goes. But Shivington had decided that this was his personal and his men's mission, and so he stationed his men up on a ridge up above the village and let his men know that they would be attacking. Obviously, Black Kettle saw these people, figured out something was wrong, and they attempted to surrender. The Black Kettle sent out a young boy with a white surrender flag. The reality is the Cheyenne might have been able to stick up for themselves, but the reason why it was a peaceful village is all of the men and the warriors were out on a hunt. So it was basically just women, children, and elderly in this village. And so Black Kettle sent this kid out with this flag to surrender. Well, some of the soldiers saw the flag and said, sir, they're trying to surrender. And Shivington said, you don't know what that means. That could be a war flag, or they could be trying to trick us. Then he gave the order to kill and scalp all, big and little. Some of Shivington's men refused to ride down the ridge. They sat in place. Some of them rode down the ridge and just stood there in the village. Unfortunately, though, a lot of Shivington's men did not do that. They followed the orders, and they went to extremes. Let's see. They scalped the elderly people. They actually, scalping means you take a knife and you cut around here, and you take off that skull cap. The bone is still going to be there, but that's going to be painful. It's going to cause a lot of blood loss, and it's probably going to kill you. They disemboweled the women. Now, what that means, I'm going to tip my computer. They take their knives or their bayonets on their guns, and they're going to stab, and they're going to cut more or less an arc right across here and let the guts spill out. You're obviously going to die. You're going to go into shock. It could potentially be a slow death. And then they clubbed the children to death. They actually took their rifles and used the butt end to smash in heads, swung them like bats, and beat the kids to death. Not everybody in the village died. Some of the kids were able to escape. Some of the women were able to escape. Regardless, 450 Cheyenne were killed inside that village during the Shivington Massacre. A few days later, the Cheyenne warriors came home from the hunt. They found their elderly, their women, and their children killed, massacred, just a mess. And they did what I guess made sense to them. They attacked a settlement of peaceful white settlers and killed them. And then it became this back and forth that lasted about 3 or 4 years, where the army would attack defenseless outposts of Cheyenne and Arapaho Indians, and the Cheyenne would retaliate. Eventually, the Cheyenne's population was dealt a fatal blow at a place called Washita, and they decided to give up, and they were moved to a reservation in Indian Territory. Now, if you've never heard of Indian Territory, that's what they used to call Oklahoma, because basically Oklahoma at that time was nothing, and you can see it down here in this map that I've included. Oklahoma was almost nothing but Indian reservations, and you can see that the Cheyenne and Arapaho were put in the western chunk of Oklahoma. Okay, obviously the tribe tried to give up. It didn't work. It wasn't good enough for anybody, so they were massacred and then moved. Really quickly, before I let you guys go, I thought I'd show you guys a new assignment. It's called the U.S. versus the Sioux Tribe. There's actually 2 documents. Each one has a short number of questions, and nothing ridiculously long. There isn't a ton of reading with this one. It's going to be due Friday by midnight, so please make sure you get that done. Get me any of that old work you owe me. You need to be getting things in. Okay, I don't know how to say it and be any more clear. You have to hand things in to get grades. Okay, so if you have any questions, please let me know. Reach out, ask for help. And otherwise, I'll see you later. Hope you're well.